Hello. Today's lesson is on do-it-yourself credit repair. First, full disclosure. Know what you're up against. The credit bureaus are equipped with diversionary tactics and legislation that protects themselves and their clients. Remember who their clients are. Their clients are the creditors. They're the ones reporting the information to the credit bureaus, and as they do that, the creditors, they have to pay for that right to report that information. So whenever you position a dispute, know that you're up against that and that legislation that protects them. If you want more information on whose side they're on, watch the 60-minute video. It was done by CBS 60 Minutes in February of 2012. The way to pull the video up is it's entitled 40 Million Mistakes on Credit Reports. So Google that. You can pull it up through YouTube or on their site. And what you'll learn from that video is that the whole system is broken because of the way the credit bureaus are slanted in favor of the creditors. Now there is a workaround, so don't dismay. As we continue through this video, I'm going to tell you the different tactics that are used to work around that particular system that they have in play. When you hear people say that they have repaired their credit, I want you to temper your expectations. Whatever they did for themselves may not be relevant for you. Every credit report is unique in nature. They have debts on there that you didn't have. They may be paying down debts differently that you didn't do. So know that when you hear somebody say they repair their credit, they may have many different ideas of what repairing a credit report are. One of the ideas that they may be talking about is it involves paying off creditors. Now, in this particular instance, they're dealing with the creditors, not with the credit bureaus. There's an inherent danger in dealing with the creditors. First, as you call them on the phone, you risk updating that information on your credit report because now you have verified the debt in that manner. It's also very costly to do a debt negotiation or a consumer credit counseling service, a CCCS, a bankruptcy 13. These are all synonymous with paying off the creditors. So it may be costly because you're paying off all those debts, and more importantly, typically it will lower your score. Why would it lower my score if I pay off an old debt? Well, think of it from the FICO scoring model perspective. What happens is you're updating that information. FICO looks most intently at the recency of data. So you got data that was an old collection account, for example. You paid off. Now it's a paid collection, but it's recent. So that recency supersedes or overwrites the fact that it's now a zero balance, and it drags your score down. So be very careful about paying off debt in order to accomplish getting a higher score. So depending upon the number of creditors and the amounts that you're paying, that will dictate how much this whole procedure is going to cost you. It also elongates the time of the statute of limitations. Each state has a different statute. Most of them are about 4 years. And what that means is there's two particular dates of interest here. One is how long can it report on my credit report? And for most items, that's 7 years. And then the second date of interest is how long is the statute of limitations in effect? How long can they sue me for and win in a court of law? And if that's 4 years in your state and you've paid a debt that was 5 years ago, or worse yet, paid a portion of it, even it's $10, you reaffirm that debt and you've elongated the time that they can sue you and win in a court of law. Now, the good thing about when you pay off your creditors is they stop hounding you because you're making a payment to them. So it takes judgment out of play too, because they're not going to sue you if they're receiving their money. So those are the good elements about paying off debt in order to raise your credit score. Now, there's a third way of repairing your credit, and that is doing an online dispute. An online dispute involves working directly with the credit bureaus, not working with the creditors, as I've mentioned before. And it's usually started by going to annualcreditreport.com. When you go to that site, and by the way, that is the only free site out there that will give you a copy of your credit report. When you go there and you dispute it, they're going to actually tempt you to dispute it. They'll say dispute today. The reason why they do that is because that particular way of doing it they actually receive money for that compensation, because anytime you dispute, they get to charge the creditors. Now, it doesn't cost them any money because it's their system talking, their computer talking to the creditor's computer. So for them, it's easy, it's inexpensive. For you, it's easy, it's inexpensive. It's all done online. Now, the bad part about that is it's a very low success rate. Again, I'm going to defer to that 60-minute video. Please, I can't encourage you enough to watch it. It's called 40 Million Mistakes, and you'll see what I mean by terms of a low success rate by an online dispute. And it can engrave the item onto the credit report, and it takes longer. You don't know this, but they have 45 days to respond to an online dispute versus 30 days to a letter that you write. And this is the worst one. It oftentimes leaves item in dispute by consumer on the credit report, and the aftermath of that can be devastating when you go to get a mortgage, because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will not approve, and those are the companies that buy up these loans, they will not approve a loan that has item in dispute on the consumer on theirs. And then finally, you're going to forfeit your right to be creative with your challenge later on. Because if you do it online, you've basically engraved these items on your credit report. Now you want to say something different outside of what they've given you as your choices when you first did your dispute. Now you've played that card too many times. They're going to say it's a frivolous dispute, and you're not going to be able to go down that street. Now, the next way is, let's download a kit from the internet. And let's just say that we're going to use these sample letters, and we're going to send off letters. Now, that's much better than going online and doing the dispute. However, it has its limitations as well. Whatever it says on that template is what you're going to use. So if you're using a subsection of the law that talks about the item being a duplicate, and really that's not what you wanted to do, you need to know that what your legislation you're putting in play has to be relevant to the dispute that you're trying to position it. And without knowing all of the subsections of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, it's really hard to understand which ones to put in play. And also know this: when you download a kit, $15, $20 for a kit, it's simply words on a page. It's not doing anything for you until you actually get involved and you plug in your variables and you send those letters off. So there's that element too, that many times people do it and then they want to start reading the whole kit, and they get so bogged down with it they start to see what they've got themselves into, and nothing ends up happening. So it's got its limitations whenever you do a download of a kit. And finally, it takes a little bit of intelligence to do it. And when I say a little bit, I mean probably it takes a lot of intelligence to do it, because you really have to understand the subsections of the law. You don't want to put things in play that are not relevant to your dispute. And the kit may be teaching you to negotiate, and we covered that a little while ago, and that was, maybe you don't want to negotiate your debts down, but that's what the kit is suggesting that you do. The best way to do credit repair on your own is to do it in conjunction with a professional. There's so many different levels of professionals that do this out here. One of them is they'll want you to stay in with them for years, and they'll write the dispute letters for you, but they send them off. That's a bad idea. First of all, you don't know what they're saying on your behalf. They could be lying. And then secondly, you don't even know that they're doing the work. Work with a company who writes the letters for you but sends them to you so that you get to see what's being said, and you get to send those letters off. You're in control. You get the results back from the credit bureaus. They don't. And when you get them back, you get to see that things are coming off your credit report. So work with a company like that has an end date. They're not trying to do this for 2 or 3 years. They'll stand up and say, hey, we're going to get it done in 6 months. We know what to do. We know how to put your rights into play. We know what to do at the appropriate time. We know how to challenge the verification process itself. We know what to do all along the line. And then you're involved, and you get to see not only the results coming back, but you get to see them online. So that's the best way of doing it. Typically, companies like that charge $99 a month for up to 6 months. If you'd like more information from a company like that, please call area code 412-242-2733. I'd like to thank you for your time and appreciate your attention.